The audience's enjoyment of Severance is not just constrained to the show itself. This show is best experienced live while participating in superfan communities, where theories are prevalent and deep engagement with the source material is rewarded by the show itself. Severance blurs the line between the real world and the fictional world by including things like handbooks, letters, and other external content, which can then be read and dissected by superfans to provide an enhanced experience for those who are looking for it. For example, the tasks that the MDR workers in Severance complete each day is available as a real-world interactive website themed after Lumen. This concept is called an ARG, or an alternate reality game. But what if I told you that Severance is not the first show to practice entertainment and audience engagement in this manner, and there was actually a show very similar to Severance in a lot of ways that took the ARG experience to a new level. If you're a fan of Severance, you'll probably be a big fan of this show as well. Mr. Robot was a show that aired from 2015 to 2019, 7 years prior to Severance. It was made by showrunner Sam Esmail and features Rami Malek as its lead actor, Elliot. Elliot is a hacker who decides to take on criminals on the deep web, the fictional company E-Corp, and debt as a whole. It follows a similar pattern of a small group of individuals trying to outsmart a seemingly all-powerful corporate entity, as well as the use of split personalities. It also tries to be very realistic in its hacking terminology and practicality, having some real-life white-hat hackers advising the show's technical details. Similar to Severance, it was a show that both engaged and perplexed viewers concerning what was going to happen next, a battle against, again, an all-powerful corporation, and the surreal yet grounded mystery of it all. The show came with a concept called eCoin, a fictional cryptocurrency that existed in the Mr. Robot universe, as well as our world. To bridge the gap between the show's second and third seasons, USA Network brought eCoin to life, allowing the Mr. Robot narrative to extend beyond the linear broadcast and unfold into the real world across multiple platforms. USA Network's goal was to turn the fictional eCoin into an actual, functioning cryptocurrency in the real world, while also using immersive theater along with digital and social media to blur the lines between fiction and reality, allowing fans to truly feel like they were a part of Mr. Robot's post-5/9 world. This innovative multi-platform initiative would not only engage audiences prior to Mr. Robot's Season 3 return, but sustain fan engagement and excitement and participation throughout the entire new season. So basically, eCoin was an ARG based in the world of Mr. Robot. And if you didn't know what an ARG was already, it's essentially a game that takes place in our world and usually tends to require a network of people to crack some sort of code or put clues together to get to the next level or to rack up points and so on and so forth. In Mr. Robot, the show itself would feature QR codes, puzzles, websites, mysteries, and social media posts, which you could then use to earn points, which were the eCoin. After you gained your points, you could then spend them in order to purchase things and merchandise related to Mr. Robot. I, for one, have a Mr. Robot hoodie that I've worn for years and cherished greatly. If I remember correctly, I snagged that along with a charging bank from the eCoin shop after catching a social media post before some other people. So this was how it worked. And I found a video that someone took from around that time, and that is what you're seeing here in the background. The ARG campaign began sometime around Season 2, with an email being sent out to superfans prior to San Diego Comic-Con. It introduced eCoin as a new currency, and at the convention, fans could visit a physical branch of the Bank of E, analogous to something like the Bank of Lumen in Severance, where they can enroll in getting an eCoin account through a custom website. This eCoin platform then allowed the users to purchase things at any participating vendors at San Diego Comic-Con. Also at the convention, there was a replica of an in-show barbecue named the Red Wheelbarrow Barbecue. And inside this restaurant were additional hidden clues and extra content related to the show. Later on, they took it a step further. Superfans who had signed up for eCoin were invited to join a roleplay gala, where the real-life actor who played the CEO of the company eCorp, analogous to the CEO of Lumen, appeared and gave a speech to the audience. This would be like if Apple hosted a roleplay Lumen gala, where fans of Severance were invited to attend, and the real-life actors in Severance were in attendance. Again, attendance here was rewarded by USA Network, with the eCorp Gala being hacked and the presentation screen suddenly displaying the first ever trailer for Season 3 of Mr. Robot. Unfortunately, I was unable to find an actual video that someone took from this gala, so you'll have to just believe me. Afterward, and throughout Season 3, fans could sign up for accounts anytime for eCoin, and redeem rewards such as an Amazon Echo, clothing, and charging banks, as I said earlier. This was when I signed up. I just wanted to make it known how much of a positive impact this had on me as a viewer in keeping me engaged and hungry for more Mr. Robot content during those times where the show was in production. It also really helped to foster a sense of community and participation among the Mr. Robot fandom on Reddit. And just to back that up, Mr. Robot ended up receiving an Emmy Award specifically for their use of ARGs. They won the 2020 Outstanding Interactive Extension of a Linear Program. And meanwhile, on platforms like Reddit, a small but mighty community was extremely active during the show's airing. If you couldn't make it to one of the in-person ARG experiences, you could still participate in many of the online ones. Again, this was a long time ago, but if my memory is correct, the show would hide clues within the source code of the ARG websites that it stood up for the show. So that encouraged the more tech-savvy fans among us to find clues wherever they could. And it created a sense of tiers of engagement. You could be a fan who just watched the show as it aired on television, or you could be one who watched the show and participated in theory discussions on social media. Or you could be one who watched the show, participated in fan discussions, and went to the websites and QR codes and all the clues and things that were shown in the TV show. And lastly, you could be the person who watched the show, participated in discussions, went to the websites that were set up for the ARG of the show, and dug into the source material of the website to find even more clues. In my opinion, Mr. Robot did not see the kind of mainstream success on the level of Severance because of the timing of when it was released. A show like this would have done far, far better in this current streaming era that we're in right now. But despite not achieving strong mainstream success, a small but dedicated fan base remains loyal to the show, and the show was of course critically acclaimed. I started watching Severance at the end of 2024. While there have been fantastic shows that have come out since 2019, I've never really been able to find a show that scratches the itch quite like Mr. Robot until Severance. Because I didn't have Apple TV, when the show came out, it flew completely under my radar. And to be honest, I kind of assumed that it was a comedy show similar to The Office, simply because I had only seen the cover art of the show and I saw an office. Severance is like a thriller from the showrunner Ben Stiller. The concept of the show is this: a large and very powerful company named Lumen has developed technology that allows employees to sever their consciousness according to a geographical location. When workers are in their workplace, they cannot recall anything about their life outside of work. And when they're outside of work, they can't recall anything that occurred at work. Almost immediately after starting Severance, I began to notice similarities between the two shows. Let's start with the cinematography and vibe. One of the hallmark signs of a Mr. Robot episode was the shot framing. And I'm not a cinematographer, so I'll try to describe it in the best way I know how. The camera didn't move much. It was, in my opinion, almost always stationary when characters were talking to one another. The dialogue scenes between two people always had the subject off-center, oftentimes to the very right or the very left, but almost always in the corner of the shot. Distant shots were common and always well thought out. This same tactic is seen in Severance, giving the entire severed floor a meticulous, sterile, and well thought out feel. I find that this style of framing makes me as the viewer have an easier time digesting dialogue. And since both shows are very dialogue heavy, that's important. You can look up Mr. Robot Severance on Reddit and see countless threads of people who said, hey, this show reminds me, and the vibe reminds me a lot of Mr. Robot. The shows also share some general similarities in their antagonists, with both shows having a very powerful corporate entity be the main antagonist of the show, and with the main characters of the show being tasked with figuring out the secrets that this corporation holds, and quite possibly in Severance taking it down entirely. In terms of the protagonists, in Mr. Robot you have Elliot, and in Severance you have Mark, with both of them dealing with issues concerning identity and split personalities. The world has changed thanks to streaming, and I think we are now more conditioned and suitable for ARGs being implemented into TV shows now more than ever. They're in-universe commercials for us to view, such as the one you're looking at now. They're handbooks and companion books meant to simulate being inside of the world of Severance. They're extra content, which you can find in things like the Lexington Letter. And the Lumen brand itself is all positioned very well to be implemented into an even more complex and engaging ARG experience for those who like the show Severance. So the point of this video was not to pit Severance and Mr. Robot against one another, but rather to provide some proof that if you liked Mr. Robot, you should check out this show, Severance. I was very disappointed in myself for not finding this show until the end of 2024. And it's also for those who watch Severance. If you haven't heard of Mr. Robot, or if you have heard of it but never checked it out, please go and watch the show. It is very similar to Severance in a lot of ways concerning the structure of the show and how it makes you feel as a viewer.